I don't know where to start. There we go. Okay. Just for reference, I went on a humanitarian journey in 2016 to Bajos de Jaina, which is one of the most top 10 polluted places on the planet. That's kind of what started this whole journey, because when I got back, people were like, well, why aren't you helping out the Rio Grande Valley? And I was like, Rio Grande Valley's good, like, who cares? Like, we're good. And it wasn't until later that I started unveiling the problems that we all face. And I guess as I get older, I start getting more into politics, and this, this is the current status of what we're in. So last year, I created a documentary called Before We Drowned, and what happened in March, we had devastating floods here in the Rio Grande Valley. And I'm a dance dad, so I was in Houston with my daughter, and I was sitting there because I guess I have OCD or something, so I need to be doing something. And I just started researching all the stuff that's happening in the Rio Grande Valley. And we've had flooding issues for a very long time. The problem with the Rio Grande Valley is we flood, and we flood often. So as many of you know this, I met a lot of people throughout this journey that their homes flooded multiple times, not just once, over and over and over again. So that award went off to win some documentary awards. And then I kind of went into the whole data center in the Rio Grande Valley of the water issues that we face. So I kind of went into a rabbit hole. I kept on uncovering stuff, and I kept on uncovering more stuff, and it just never stopped, and I keep on finding more stuff today. So this is kind of like my research kind of condensed into like 10 slides. It's very hard to put it in 10 slides, but I'm gonna try to. I don't think people really understand the problem that we face with data centers, so I'm going to try to uncover this in a short presentation. So this is the Rio Grande Valley water. We need to start with the history of the Rio Grande Valley. Can you click to the next slide, please? All right, so where we get our water from in the Rio Grande River is we get it all the way up from Colorado, way up here, and it comes all the way down into the Rio Grande Valley. By the time it reaches us, we get about 15% of the water, and that flows out into the Gulf of Mexico. 90% of the water that we get to drink, the water that you're drinking now, the tap water that comes out, the stuff that you bathe your kids with, everything, we get it from the Rio Grande River. We have another water source which has been cut off, and it's over here, is the Arroyo Colorado, which my grandpa loves to fish out there. He's 95 years old, and he fished there all his life. He took me there as well. Problem with this is from Mission all the way to Rio Hondo, this body of water only flows by wastewater. So every city from Mission all the way out to Rio Hondo, they dump their wastewater, their untreated wastewater, their treated wastewater, farm runoff, all of it goes into the Arroyo Colorado. And this is important. So the problem happens when, and I uncovered this when I did my documentary, is that when it floods, and it floods often, the Arroyo Colorado overflows, so does the Rio Grande River, and it goes into 82,000 homes and 300 different facilities across the Rio Grande Valley. The problem with this is that since we're an agricultural area since the 1950s earlier, we used a lot of banned pesticides that settled into the ground, settled into the Arroyo Colorado. So when this flooding comes, it disrupts this water, and it flows into communities across the Rio Grande Valley. Our children jump in it, they play with it. Floodwaters is fun. You're not supposed to let your kids in floodwaters. A lot of people don't know that. We have a huge poverty right here in the Rio Grande Valley where they cannot find clean access to water. And even these colonias, it has been proven that they dump their sewage directly into these water sources. So if you look at the Arroyo Colorado, Mission all the way to Rio Hondo, everybody dumps their wastewater, untreated wastewater, all that stuff. But if you go back to this right here, all the way from Colorado all the way down to the Rio Grande Valley, we share this with Mexico. Every state, every city across that also dumps their untreated wastewater, treated wastewater. A lot of nasty stuff goes into this water. So by the time we get it down into the Rio Grande Valley, our water has to be highly processed. They use a lot of chemicals in the water in the Rio Grande Valley specifically because our water has to be treated so highly because we get whatever's left. So all the way down, we get literally at the bottom of the barrel, this is what we get it left. So that's why it's important to have TDS meters to check your TDS, and to also look at what your consumer confidence reports are. How many of you all get your consumer confidence reports in the mail? Do you know what a consumer confidence report is? It's your water report that you get every year. The problem with your water report is that you get your water report in the summer. We're going to get one in the summer, this summer, 2026. It tells you what's in the water last year. So 2025 from January all the way to December 31st, you will get a report this summer that tells you what's in the water for last year. I mean, there's a disconnect. So it's a huge problem. You don't know what's in the water. So if your water is compromised today, you will not find out until summer 2027. So I don't think people really understand this. And I kind of stumbled upon this, and I had conversations with the guys from the municipalities. I said, well, I've never been sick. Fine. One glass of water is not going to give any problems to you, right? But it's been shown over time that your body accumulates all these things, and over time you can develop a sickness. The problem with this, since our water has to be treated so harshly, is they use chlorines and different chlorides to disinfect the water. This is common practice around the Rio Grande Valley. The problem with this is it creates disinfectant byproducts. These disinfectant byproducts have been known to cause cancer over time. Look this up, guys. I'm not an expert, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a chemical engineer. Please do your own research with what I'm giving you, because it's important that you understand kind of what I'm talking about. You have a question?
Yeah, so what about the toilet to tap that everybody's talking about when it comes to the water? If this water is already contaminated, how does that make it? Because they want to use that for data centers.
I'm going to show you. I'm going to get to that slide. So can we go to the next slide? All right, so the problem with Texas, I'm not going through the water issues to kind of get to the data centers, because this is kind of, it loops back. So in Texas right now, Texas is running dry. This is a picture that I pulled off of Facebook. And you see Corpus is right now, at this moment, is having huge problems with their water. So in 2021 versus 2025, a lot of that water is just gone. It's evaporated. It's been used. It's horrible right now. Right now, Hays County is in stage 4 restrictions, which they're restricting by aggressive pumping reductions. Can't use outdoor water. They suspended permitting for new industrial extractions. So you can see that we're kind of like, we're running out of water across Texas. And on the other side of that, people will tell me, well, if we get a big rain, it's going to replenish it. Okay, fine. But eventually that will probably get used up. We'll go to the next slide, please. So now going into data centers, I think a lot of people don't really understand what a data center is. A lot of people think that it's a call center, where like Converges or something like that. They think it's a call center where a lot of people are in there making calls. That's not a data center. Data centers are pretty much, they're large industrial facilities. They use them for cloud computing, AI, social media, streaming, financial systems, Netflix, stuff like that. We use it heavily because we're going more towards a digital world. As you can clearly see, like social media, we're going towards a digital world. Everything's getting more digital, even our money is getting more digital. So unlike other buildings, data centers run every single minute, every single day, 24/7. They do not stop. They're just literally going every single day until, well, if the power gets shut off, the generators turn on. So they never stop. So 24/7, 365 days a year. Can we go to the next slide, please? All right, so this brings us to what's being proposed here in Cameron County. And let me preface this, I'm not against AI, I'm not against data centers, I'm against them coming to a region that cannot support them. As we see data centers, AI, it's the future. I'm not against entrepreneurship, I'm not against capitalism, I am all for that, I own my own business. But I am against it coming to a community that cannot support it. And clearly, the Rio Grande Valley cannot support it, and I'm going to continue to share why. So the scale of this is it's a 2 gigawatt factory, about 1,785 acres with 16 halls. So just in context, and put that in context, that's bigger than La Villa and Palm Valley combined. This is a massive structure. Just think about this too, because when these structures come on, they make impervious ground. So meaning that the water cannot sink into the ground, that water has to go somewhere. So when we do get a flood or heavy rains, that water has to go somewhere. And chances are it's gonna go to your neighbors somewhere. The power demand for this, since it's 2 gigawatts, this facility will theoretically power approximately 1.4 million homes. So that's just think about that, because we're not only talking about water, we're talking about energy now. And the projections for this, and this is where I kind of struggle with this, because this data center directly coming into Cameron County is supposed to bring in about $14 billion for the county. And that could fix up the infrastructure issues, that could fix up a lot of the issues that we have with the flooding, but who knows? We're not gonna know until it happens, and then we don't know where really that money goes. And I say that because of the NDAs that are happening behind closed doors. We don't know what's going on. These are our backdoor discussions, backdoor deals that are happening. We did a Freedom of Information Act, and we got all the emails out, and we show that they've been talking about this since early last year. So, and when we approached the people and elected officials, they said they didn't know anything about it, and then the next day they changed their tune, like, yes, we know about it, we knew about it. So there's a level of transparency that the common citizen is not getting, and we should know, because it's going to affect the entire Rio Grande Valley. If we get one data center, it's going to affect the Rio Grande Valley, because we get our water from the Rio Grande River. And let's just assume that they use this affluent water from the arroyo, right? So they're going to pull this water, right, from the arroyo. What it sends back out is brine water. It's very salty water. And I failed to mention that the Rio Grande River and the Arroyo Colorado are already impaired bodies of water. So the EPA shows that these are not good sources for fish, for jumping in, for anything. You cannot use these water, they're impaired. So going back to this, it shows that if the Harlingen Waterworks system, their agreement was that they were gonna give them 4.6 million gallons of affluent water per day. So per month, that's approximately 140 million gallons, and per year, that's probably 1.68 billion gallons. Annual usage is about 1.6 billion gallons, and that's equivalent to the water needs of approximately 15,500 typical American households per year. So this thing goes 24/7, soaking up water, spitting it out, and then taking up energy every single day, 24/7. You don't shut these things off. You go to the next slide. All right, so let's just go back to how much water could a 2 gigawatt data center use. And it's unclear what kind of cooling systems they're gonna use. There's 3 different types of cooling systems. We don't know what systems they're gonna use, so I have to assume, since there's NDAs and there's closed door discussions, I'm assuming the worst. So I'm gonna go with the highest possible amount of water that they're going to use. I don't know, nobody knows. So I'm assuming that they will use 28 million gallons per day, and about 10.5 billion gallons per year, and that can power, that gives about 96,000 homes water every single year. So that's the scale of what we're looking at. Harlingen Waterworks is gonna give them 4.8 million gallons per day. So you can just see how fast that water is gonna be gobbled up every single day, every single month, every single year. Go to the next slide, please. All right, so, this is mind-blowing. When I figured this out and I saw this, I was like, okay, how many data centers do you think there are in Texas alone? There's over 570, and it started in 2017. So there's different types of data centers. The newest ones that are called hyperscalers, these started in 2017, and since then we've had over 570. And there's over 5,000 data centers across the United States. This is the most data centers in the world. Just these numbers alone, I think a lot of people don't really understand the gravity of how much water and energy these data centers use. It just goes to show that, like, we're in a race to get data centers as fast as possible. And the bottleneck right now is energy. We just simply do not have enough energy in the United States to facilitate these data centers, but they're growing them as fast as they can, and eventually will plug into the system at some point. Yes?
Does it have to be sweet water? They can't use ocean water?
No, they cannot use ocean water because it's too salty. So they can use affluent water. They clean it out within the systems. It depends on which systems they use. But I'm assuming that they're using, I don't know what system. So I'm assuming that they're gonna use the affluent water, because that's the water they have available right now. And it takes a while for these data centers to be built. So by the time it gets to that point, I don't know if it changes. So, yeah. I wish I had a better answer, yes.
Can you explain exactly what effluent water is and how it's used right now?
Sure, so the effluent water is kind of like the water that goes into the Arroyo Colorado. So let's assume that they use water from the Arroyo, right? So they're gonna use that dirty water that's already nasty, put it into the data center systems, and then it pushes out the brine water, which is saltier water that's gonna go back into the Arroyo. But technically that water comes from the Rio Grande River in the first place, because the Rio Grande River, we get all our tap water, we flush it down the toilets, all that stuff goes into the Arroyo. So it goes in one way, and it goes out into the Arroyo, and it goes out into the Gulf of America. Can we go to the Mexico, America? Can you go to the next one, please? Okay, so the cooling for the cloud. There's three main systems. There's air-based cooling, there's liquid-based cooling, and there's a hybrid cooling. A lot of people are talking about the new stuff that's gonna happen with the cooling systems, and they're gonna go hybrid. We don't know, like, it's being built, we don't know what's in the paperwork, we don't know what's being proposed because of the NDAs. Nobody knows what's going on, so I have to assume that it's gonna use a lot of water. Yes?
Tell them what an NDA is.
Yeah, so an NDA is just non-disclosure agreements where, I guess you could look at it, these are agreements between two parties that you cannot divulge certain information to the community, or, yes?
It was my understanding that Attorney General Ken Baxter was looking into this issue specifically for Cameron County regarding NDAs and whatnot. Do you know anything about that?
I'm not sure. Anybody know anything about that? Yes?
How much of the energy that these things require, do we have extra energy that we can divert to them without affecting our requirements?
No, the problem with that is there's a lot of upgrades to the energy right now. So there's a battery system that's happening in Harlingen. There's a new battery center that's being brought up. There's a lot of upgrades that are happening across Texas. The problem with that is the data centers are going to pay for their energy. We pay for the infrastructure. So one way or the other, our energy bills are going to go up. Our water bills are going to go up. It's going to happen regardless. So things only go up in price. They never come down.
Right.
That's the one thing I learned. Yes.
Yeah, so you mentioned 28 million, like that would be the consumption. How much of that goes back to the city after it's used? Is it used for cooling?
So after it gets pushed out, into.
I mean, these data centers are using it, so is it evaporating or?
Some of it's evaporating and some of it gets pushed out. It becomes brine, which is very salty water, and it gets dumped somewhere. And I'm assuming that it's going to get dumped into the Arroyo.
The county?
Yes.
Well, why wouldn't they require desalination if they're close to the coast to get that water? It's too expensive.
I'm not sure. Desal is very expensive, and you would assume that since they're spending billions of dollars on these things, that they would fork that out. But I'm not sure. I do not know. I don't know why we have NDAs. We're behind closed doors. So, and this is why it's so important that we show up to the council meetings to voice our opinions, because the problem here is when we don't show up, then they're going to be like, oh, we're going to make our own decisions. We have to show up every single time and be that annoying community member and talk about this, because this is going to affect our children. Like, I don't know how many of you guys got children. I got 2. How many of y'all have children? How many of y'all have somebody that you love here in the Rio Grande Valley? I mean, that's everybody here, guys. So the decisions that we make today are going to affect our children. And like I said, I struggle with this because this was going to bring $14 billion into the county, and it could fix up the problems that we're facing. But a friend of mine that lives in Mexico, central Mexico, she was telling me that ever since she's lived there have been 6 data centers that have popped up, and the quality of life for everybody that's around those just completely declined. The air pollution, horrible. They have rolling blackouts, they have rolling water shortages. So just think about, if we're already low in water here, what's it gonna be like waking up one day when you get a message or somebody saying that you have 1 hour to fill up all the buckets that you need, and that's your water for the day? Or what happens when your lights go out? So we're headed towards Mexico-style outages, and we're close to the border, like we see that. Yes, sorry, go ahead.
This $14 million that Harlingen get, is that, are they just gonna write them a check for 14 billion, or is that paid out over a number of years or forever, or?
That's unclear. I don't know.
Nobody knows.
Yeah, these are the studies that, if you go onto the website, and I'll share it with you all, you go onto the website, it's supposed to have your $14 billion impact on the county, so,
Joshua,
yes.
can you explain the role of the county and the role of the city of Harlingen in all of this, please?
Sure. So when I was going after Harlingen, they said they didn't know anything about it. They came back, they said they knew stuff about it, but it wasn't coming to Harlingen. It was a county issue because it's right outside of Harlingen. Okay, well, the county also sold the land to the data center, so I don't know if they're the ones that are making the decisions. It's very unclear. Like, nobody knows what's really going on, because I'm going after Harlingen because they said they didn't know anything about it, but then all of a sudden they did. So they knew something about it. So I think if we pressure our elected officials and say that, hey, we want to have a say in what's going on because it's going to affect everybody in the community, then maybe they could have those conversations with the county. And I think if we make enough noise, the county's going to hear it. Because I don't go to city meetings, I don't go to county meetings. So I can get people to go, but I don't go to these things because I'm not from Harlingen, I'm not from Camden County. So I can show up and show my support, lend the education and information, give them the tools that they need to talk about these things. But we cannot stay silent about these things, because the problem is our kids are going to grow up in the decisions that we make today. And it's a problem, because one day, imagine waking up with no water or no electricity. Yes?
You may have mentioned this and I didn't get it. Who is wanting to put the data center? Who owns that data center?
That's also unclear, because there's a few different companies, Enerus, and there's also Metro Blocks. It's unclear. I really don't know, because Enerus signed something, or they're the company that brings the data center in and then they transfer it off to the next. It's unclear. I really don't know.
So why are our elected officials not demanding that there's transparency? This is just,
I would assume because it's $14 billion.
yeah, but the quality of life issue is going to be, they
Yeah.
already tell us we cannot water our lawns, we cannot wash our cars, we cannot do this, we cannot do that. So again, wow.
I mean, I would say I see where America's going, and obviously we need data centers and AI for in the world. And there's a reason. I'm going to get to it in a slide. But yes, you had a question?
Yeah, has the county already sold the land to them?
Yes. From what I understand, it's
And
already
there's
sold.
no stopping it.
Yeah, and that's a problem. But the problem is with that statement is we still have to make our voices heard, because the problem with this is if we let them do it this time, they're going to do it again. So we do not voice our opinions, and we know the people. If we don't get in front of them and say, we know that you know that we know, like it becomes a problem.
That's what I was gonna get to with Josh. Can you honestly tell everybody in the room, they lied, the mayor lied, they all lied?
Yeah, I think people know. I think people are starting to understand the dynamics of what's really happening, because they kind of pushed them up against the wall, and the truth will come out.
Cameron County, you're saying? The
Cameron
county?
Harlingen, the city of Harlingen.
Yes. but
They
you're
knew
saying-
about it.
But you're saying the county,
Yeah, the county's the one that sold the land apparently.
so Cameron County.
Correct. Yes.
I would like to say real quick that because people are showing up to the city meetings, I was there this last week, Kenny and I went, and our commissioner from this side of town, Rini Bettis, in Harlingen, he came out and publicly stated he is against the data centers. He has publicly come out and said that. So we're getting some traction, and I asked him I asked him if there was any way that Harlingen Waterworks, can our city commissioners do something about voiding the contract that the Harlingen Waterworks system has entered with this company for this effluent water. And he did say they're working on a plan to stop it. That's what our commissioner has said. So it's working. getting out there and
And I do feel like the gentleman said right here, it's gonna happen. I talked to somebody from Harlingen Waterworks and they said it's going through. So the problem is, like, if we don't say anything, then we're just, okay, do what you want. That's a problem, but that's why we have to keep showing up. Yes?
Yeah, the other problem, it's not just water, but it's energy altogether, because just this last year, I mean, power plants had to turn down here in this region, probably from San Antonio on south, had to turn down their fossil fuel power plants because wind and solar were basically flooding the market. They were just dumping their power, whether it was on demand or not, driving the cost of energy sub-zero. I mean, mine is $6 per megawatt hour with the normal price of $30 to $40 per megawatt hour. We couldn't even pump out 1 megawatt of power to start up our plant for an entire year because of that. Now, and while that's going on, local utilities are looking at putting in batteries, because you put your power there, and then during a peak hour, yeah, you could use that and maybe save a little money. But the problem is, when these data centers come in, they're going to eat all that sub-zero dollar per megawatt power, and there's not going to be any fossil fuel generation to pick up the load for domestic use. And when that happens, that's going to create a huge demand, where it's going to drive the energy cost up, and we're all going to have to pay.
Yeah,
Or deal with rolling blackouts until somebody does.
And those battery centers do service purpose. This past cold spell that we had, they did service purpose throughout Texas. So,
Sure.
but I mean, for a data center, that's going to gobble up that energy first. Like, it does not stop.
Oh, and the wind energy farms, even though the dollar per megawatt is less than zero, they're not charging. They're still charging the 25, 30. They've got a lot of flexibility to give you a good deal depending on who you are, and so they're making money.
Yes.
So the county sold them the land.
From what I understand, yes.
County owned the land, or it's a private entity? That
I'm
doesn't
not
make
sure about
sense.
that.
The county doesn't own the land.
Yes.
I understand that the federal government has stated that they either wrote an executive order or passed a law saying that states cannot make laws against data centers.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Sir, so Mexico has as many straws in the Rio Grande River as we do, if not more, but they've got better dam systems than we have. What's to say that we get Harlingen City or even Cameron County to say, we're not doing this anymore, and Westlaco or somebody else in the next county or Stark County goes and does it instead? Are we in the same predicament where we have no water, but yet we don't have the money either, because we passing the funds?
Yeah, any data center that comes to the Rio Grande Valley is going to affect the entire region, because we get our water from the Rio Grande River.
So if we run them off
And they set up somewhere else.
They set up somewhere else.
I heard that an Amazon data center was supposed to come to Edinburgh. So, I mean, these talks are happening. And it's happening because our land is inexpensive, relatively inexpensive to other places, other regions. So, I mean, yeah.
Mexico does it right across the river, because they have access to the same water.
Exactly.
They're damming more of our water.
Yep.
They owe us. They do it if they're not going blackouts here, but Mexico got all the money.
Yeah, and even if we get the water that Mexico owes us from the 1944 treaty, I think they're supposed to give us 350,000 acre feet of water. It's still not enough to feed these systems and our region. So, somebody else have a question? No? Okay. We'll go to
I
the,
did.
yes.
So, have you been able to speak to Orlando Campos about all of this? Because I know that he had his, what did he stand to gain out of all of this? Because I feel like we have officials that are creating problems to have solutions to solve, almost like it's job security.
I'm not sure. I have not spoken to him. So,
It's property taxes. When I was working in economic development, a lot of counties loved data centers because they would come in and they got a boatload of property taxes, and a lot of the data centers do not take any incentives. They come in, they want the land, they want the opportunity to build, and they work with the counties and the EDCs in the area, so there's not a lot of job creation, but the counties love it because they get a lot of property tax.
So they're willing to pay.
Yes. They very rarely will take, they don't even ask for incentives. They just come in and pay their taxes, and that's pretty much how I was told. in the several counties I covered when I was in economic development.
Interesting. We go to the next
Where
slide.
is this area located that the county?
It's right outside of Harlingen. It's.
By the airport.
I understand that that's a battery
No,
facility.
it's next to that,
Okay.
on the east side,
Of where? How big?
of where the airport's at.
It's 1,783 acres, from what I understand.
Bigger than Lyford.
Yeah,
So it'd be south of,
it's 2.8 miles.
2.8 square miles.
Yeah, if we go back to the slide. Yeah.
I thought you were talking the average.
No, it's 1,783 acres, from what I understand.
Josh, I just want to add,
Yes.
this is the reason why we need county officials that understand what the future is. And, you know, talking about data centers and artificial intelligence, I don't know if y'all have read, but Elon Musk in June is going to come out with an IPO. He is combining SpaceX along with his artificial intelligence company, and the IPO will come out in June. He's planning to put 1 million satellites in space and basically take data centers into outer space, which is going to compete with the data centers here. So basically, hopefully, it'll be obsolete, the data centers that will be here on Earth and everything, because he's going to be using solar panels to power those satellites. But at the same token, you know, we need to focus on the here and now, and this is why we need elected officials that understand not only the now, but the future of artificial intelligence, but also the water shortage that Josh was going to be talking about. Because we take a look, we start tapping into the aquifers that we currently have as far as on the Gulf Coast that is parallel to the Gulf. We sit as Cameron County on the tip of that aquifer. We can't even tap into too much of it because Hidalgo County controls the majority of it, along with Nueces County, Kennedy County, and all the other counties that sit along the coast. So when we take a look at the aquifers, we also have to take a look at the tectonic plates of how it's going to affect those tectonic plates. So when we take a look, you know, we need to build watersheds here in Cameron County. But, you know, I was going to ask right now, so I'll ask you the question right now, Joshua. What is your thought on cloud seeding? And the only reason that I ask is because cloud seeding only costs $3 to $15 per acre foot of water, as opposed to the desalination, which costs $3,000 per acre foot of water. So what is your thought of controlled cloud seeding?
So I'll tell you what McAllen's already doing. They're getting a desal plant, so it's coming in the thing, coming down the line. But I wanted to touch on the cloud seeding because I kind of figured I was going to get this question. So I wrote down some things. Cloud seeding only works if there's clouds that are already present. So you have to have good cloud coverage, and it can't be from clear skies. So who knows? Who knows if it's going to work? The results are modest and they're not guaranteed. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So I think the whole thing happened with Camp Mystic when the flooding happened. They were putting out controversy that it was from the cloud seeding. So it's been disproven, but there was a guy that came out and talked about it. So there is a huge controversy with using that. It's just unclear how really it works, who controls it. The problem with that is like, who gets to say it rains here, and what if it rains too much? Does it go? Where does it go? I mean, right now in Harlingen, if you think about this, in 2018, from 2018 to now, the Rio Grande Valley has had 5 1 in 100 year storms. So that's pretty intense. And on top of that, Harlingen has a 1 in 5 chance of flooding every single year. So those are astronomically high. So if we do get these flooding issues, which we are known for, these infrastructure issues, they don't get fixed. That's another problem on top of that. And I was talking about impervious land. So the Rio Grande Valley is an urban sprawl right now. We are growing fast. That means more concrete. It's going to get hotter. That water gets pushed off somewhere else. McAllen just covered up the Boai reservoir, and they're building a huge structure there. So that water has to go somewhere. And where's it going to go? From all the way from Mission all the way down to Cameron County, the elevation drops 1 foot per mile. So it's going this way, all the way this way. So the problem we found out in March last year was that neighborhoods that never flooded before are starting to flood because of the urban sprawl. There's so much land that's being developed, it's getting pushed off somewhere. So can you go to the next slide, please? So the book that I wrote, and it just came out, I'll share the link with you guys. It shows the health disparities that we have here in the Rio Grande Valley. And I had always asked my mom this and my grandmother this when I was growing up. It's like, I noticed it because I asked, why are there so many sick people here in the Rio Grande Valley? Cancer has probably touched every single person's life in this room. We have high respiratory illnesses, high respiratory disease, cardiovascular disease. We lead in diabetes. And 1 in 4 people over the age of 65 in Starr County have dementia. 1 in 5 across the Rio Grande Valley have dementia, Alzheimer's. These are cumulative. So what happens is it's not one thing that's giving you these illnesses. It's a combination of many different things. So it's the air pollution, the flooding risks, the foods that we eat, the sedentary lifestyle that we have. These stack up and they add on illnesses, they add on stuff to our bodies, and over time we get more ill. If we bring a data center in, that's gonna add another layer on top of that. So just keep in mind that the more things that we add here that can take away from the quality of life, it's gonna make our future more sick. And the Rio Grande Valley is supposed to double in population by 2040. So I think 1/3 of the people that live here in the Rio Grande Valley are children. So just think about that for a second, because the decisions that we make now are going to affect our children. There's more asthma rates in Cameron County than there are in children than anywhere else in the Rio Grande Valley. And now I've been starting to follow the air quality in McAllen, because that's where I live. McAllen, Edinburgh, Mission, all that area, for some reason, the air quality is always crap. It's horrible. And I started experiencing issues with my respiratory because sometimes I can't breathe out there. So I don't know if it's coming from Mexico. I'm not saying it's coming from Mexico. I don't know if it's coming from McAllen or the area, but that's another thing that we have to deal with, the air quality. Air quality, you cannot escape. Water, you cannot escape. Water brings life, water brings death. So these are things that you cannot escape. These 5 1 in 100 year storms, we can't escape it. So that's why it's important. We have to take care of our area for our future. And it's not about the money, guys, because if we can have all the money in the world and if our kid gets cancer, who cares? Like, who cares at that point? Can you go to the next slide, please? So this is just saying that data centers, like I said, never go off. They work 24/7. Can you go to the next one? And this is the reason why data centers, why the United States wants data centers is, I follow a lot of AI experts, a lot of people that are into space, and I watch podcasts. I watch 4-hour podcasts. I'm deep into AI because I use AI. I'm not being hypocritical here. I use AI because I know that I'm not smart enough to face these issues. If you're fighting up against somebody that has a 300 IQ, I have a monkey brain. So I'm not fast enough, I'm not smart enough, but with AI, I use it to be able to get, it's like a truth seeker for me. I use it to be able to research faster, 10x my input. But the real reason why the USA is trying to achieve it is because we're trying to go after artificial general intelligence. The way data centers work right now, or the way AI works right now, it uses LLMs, large language models. So it uses tons of data, that books, it scrapes the internet, and it just puts together a bunch of different ideas that are already fed to it. It just pieces it together really fast. What happens when we reach artificial intelligence is that it can learn, think, and connect everything at the same time faster and deeper than any human or group of humans ever could. So it's cumulatively smarter than every single person in the world. The United States is going after this because it's a huge strategic advantage, and it matters because it's, like I said, it's a strategic advantage because whoever reaches it first is going to have the economic productivity, scientific discoveries, military and national security, cyber defense, infrastructure optimization, and supply chains. It's going to accelerate the United States. So if you all can see that the way that the world is going right now, we're in a power struggle with China. So we don't want to trade with people, we're giving tariffs. So you can see the trade dynamics, the dynamics that the world is going through. We're trying to reach AGI, and that's why the reason why these data centers, there's 5,000 plus data centers in the United States. So we're in a race to achieve AGI. Can you go to the next slide? And that's pretty much all I had, guys. I know it's a lot of information. I probably skipped over a lot, but you can go on my social media and kind of interact with me. I'm sorry if I don't comment back or message you back. I get inundated with people that message me every single day, and I simply cannot respond to as many people as I'd like. So I'm not ignoring you. I have a job, I have a life, I have a family, and I do a lot of research. So when I plug in, and I kind of just do my thing. Right here, I have a new project which I started actually filming today about dementia.